The poem that I'm about to record is called Copenhagen, and it's from a time when I was living in Copenhagen and I would trudge through the snow after teaching yoga, and I would sit at a little cafe that was packed and it had flamenco music on, and I'd sit and scribble words. And anyhow, seems a long time ago. Copenhagen. She would sit at cafes all night long, sometimes until they were closing. It was always snowing. The flamenco music on the stereo, the warm candle-lit room. At the red table she sat, scribbling words and song lyrics and scraping enough money in her pocket to pay for her wine, or sometimes the bartender would smile and she knew it was for free. And the autistic man, the one that counted his tapes over and over and over again, he sat at the middle table wearing earplugs. And in the busy bar she caught his eye and she smiled, and he looked down and he looked away and she looked on, and she smiled, he looked away and she looked on, and she smiled, he looked away and she looked on, and she smiled, he looked away, she looked on, and two women stood up to go outside for a cigarette, and the cold air hit her, and it was always snowing here. And the autistic man saw that she shivered, and he stood up to close the door behind the women smoking, and she looked at him and motioned thank you, and he looked away and sat back down and went back to shuffling his tapes and crossing and uncrossing and crossing and uncrossing his legs over and over again. And she liked him very much, the way he sat there so still and so quiet, and barely a whisper of a man, yet so strong. And she took a sip of wine and went back to her journal and tried hard not to look up, but every time she did, he was there with those eyes that darted back and forth from his tapes to her, 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 and she shivered. It was always snowing here. Isolation.